Hi, I'm Chris Beeson, and welcome to Crew Network's Career Zone, designed to give you a realistic, first-hand look at what it takes to be successful in commercial real estate as a contractor or a developer. We represent Crew Network, a professional organization dedicated to the mission of advancing the success of women in commercial real estate. Our members represent every specialization within the industry. From appraisals to zoning laws, you can find talented Crew Network professionals to handle any commercial real estate matter. Crew Network has chapters in major markets in the U.S. and Canada, and we hope you will look for a chapter in your area. I'd like you to meet our panelists of Crew Network members who are each recognized leaders in their segment of the industry. Our panelists will introduce themselves, share what their careers are like, and provide information to help you better understand the career opportunities that are available to you within construction and development. We know it's easier to consider a field when you have role models to guide you. My name, once again, is Chris Beeson. I am a construction executive working for a general contractor. I have 26 years of experience. I didn't necessarily select this field. This field kind of selected me. I think that what I enjoy the most about our business is if you're a goal-oriented person, you see progress every day. So you have short goals that you see and can accomplish that lead to the larger goal of completing a building project. No 2 days are alike. I get an opportunity to wear jeans, which I really enjoy. It's a little more casual, but also when you're on a job site, you tend to be a little bit more casual because you might be walking through a construction work zone. I think that no 2 days are alike. You don't have to sit at your desk. You can go to a job site. You could do some marketing proposals, just every different aspect of the work experience. So I think we will start by introducing our panelists. Would you like to go first?
Certainly, Chris. My name is Nasucha Mabwa, and I work for McCaffrey & Trust on the development side. We're a real estate development company that's been around for about 22 years in Chicago, and I'm working on managing a long-term real estate development project on Chicago's South Side. And what we're doing is trying to create a new place for people to live in terms of 21st century innovative infrastructure and lifestyle changes. We want people to be able to live, work, recreate, shop, all in the same place, just 10 miles from downtown Chicago. I love my job because I get to do, like you said, many different things on a daily or weekly basis. And sometimes that means working with contractors, consultants who do marketing, architecture, different people who work in government, state, at the local level. It's just very interesting all the time. And I like being able to work on a team with many people towards the same goal. So I find that very interesting. I think the fact that I have an urban planning background is helpful, and also a municipal government background. But I've been in real estate specifically for 7 years. So I think the varied background has helped me work on this type of project. I think what I like best about my job is that it is very different. And I would say to younger people coming up today, probably something very helpful for them to think about is to really have a positive attitude, to be a very good team player, and to be able to say yes that any task comes their way. I've noticed over the years that people who tend to kind of maybe not get as far ahead as others are people who are sometimes negative or not willing to take on a risk or a hard task. And even if there's a risk of not doing that well, you should at least try, because you may be able to very well accomplish that task. So that's what I do, and I really love my work. And again, it's McCaffrey & Trusts.
Thanks. Jennifer?
My name is Jennifer Latimer. I'm the Senior Director of Real Estate for Walmart Stores. My territory is Florida, and I am responsible for finding new sites for Walmart along the western coast of Florida and central Florida. The areas that I handle are anywhere from just strategy. So I pick the markets, I do the demographic studies, I determine where best would be one of our vehicles, which for Florida are the Walmart Supercenters and our smaller neighborhood markets, which is just a grocery store. I got interested in real estate because my father had an appraisal firm, and during the summers I would intern with him or work for him in the summers. And then I went to grad school, and my graduate school had a program where you had to do an internship, and Walmart actually came to our school, and it was a wonderful opportunity. I was able to spend the summer in Bentonville, actually working in disposition at that time. And then I was able to be Walmart's broker in the field for 3 years, and now site selection. So I'm very lucky in the fact that I've touched all aspects of my job, which has really made me better at what I do, and I can also understand the different sides of a deal. The great thing about my job is just really a lot of fun. I get to work with a really varied team of people, consultants, engineers, attorneys, in-house and outside, and I have learned a lot of different aspects of commercial real estate, not just site selection. I've had to get a little bit of legal expertise and construction, and that has been really, really interesting for me. Again, no day is ever the same, and it's been a lot of fun.
Allison?
Yes, I'm Allison Beal with Pacific Building Group. We are a general contractor based in San Diego. We primarily focus in the Southern California market, almost exclusively in the commercial office market, but with a specialty group that focuses on healthcare as well. I have been with our firm for 6 years. I am the Director of Business Development. So I work in kind of bringing in new projects as well as working with our estimating and operations teams to put out RFPs and proposals and to actually team early on projects on the development side and with architects and our end user clients. My background actually came from a construction law firm, so I understood the side very much from a construction side and less from a real estate side. And I would tell you that my experience and in what I need to do, I need to be able to understand a lot of the varied aspects of the real estate market, whether it's legal or finance or development or even the architect and design side in order to be successful in winning business. A lot of what I do is based on relationships within our market, and being able to understand how a deal comes together from start to finish is extremely important, as well as understanding the nuances of what makes us successful within our own internal operations. So being able to understand what an estimating team might need. And so within the construction industry, I probably touch more on the real estate side, whereas we also have quite a few female project managers. So from a construction standpoint, for people who like to build a project from start to finish, I think there's a lot of opportunities for women to have their hands in the dirt. I tend
It
to
is fun.
It is, and it is very fun. And I would tell you one of the great things about the real estate and construction market is you get to drive down a freeway and you can point at a building and say, I built that. Whatever your role in building that, it's a great feeling. It's a very fulfilling industry when you can build a team together and build a project at the end of the day together. But I think that would be the kind of my background and a summary of what I do.
I'm Stacy Amrine, and I work for CBRE, which I work on the global corporate services side of division of CBRE, and I actually work for Microsoft. That is my client. I'm on the campus there. It's very exciting, very different. I actually fell into real estate 19 years ago. Wasn't planning on it, but started as a receptionist with a very large firm that actually was purchased by CBRE many years ago. And started as a receptionist, worked my way up through the ranks there. Focused most of my career on the project management side, very exciting. And the reason I like it is it's different every day. You get up, you don't know what's going to happen on a job, but it's exciting. So a typical day for me at Microsoft is, meetings with clients, talking to them, understanding the real estate. My work is global. I work in the mergers and acquisitions side of Microsoft, so when they buy or sell a company, I'm actually on the forefront there working with them and bringing the leases in, and also trying to do the project management side of the work to bring in the corporate services and make the office more like Microsoft. So very exciting, very innovative client. I really enjoy it just because I get to do different things. I've been able to be fortunate in my career working for an owner's representative that I'm able to do leasing and project management and asset management and be able to have a very, very diverse and varied career that I can move around, do different things, and be able to change jobs in a whim because I've had that experience. It's been very interesting. And I would say the biggest thing for me and the reason that I was able to move up so easily is you have to not just take the task, but you have to take it and understand what the bigger picture is and how do you apply that and what are people really trying to get at, not just I need you to do X, Y, and Z. If you want to take that and understand how it filters out to the bigger picture, you're going to be much more valuable to your employer.
Great, thanks. So companies are always searching for outstanding talent. Can you guys share your thoughts on what helps make professionals in construction or development, successful? You shared a little bit about that in your intros, but is there anything that stands out in your mind that you want to expand on or share?
I think so. Recently, we've been looking for some new talent to help us on the kind of assistant levels of the team. And it's more of kind of fitting to the culture of the workplace than the specific skill set that the person has. We've interviewed people recently, this is just coincidence and timing, who have had some real estate background experience, but we ended up selecting this one particular individual because they just are really a go-getter, a team player, and very positive. And we think they're going to be a really good addition to our team to move forward with all the varied tasks we have. Our company is growing. We're taking on more projects in the Chicago area and on the East Coast. So it's really important for the cultural fit.
I think all of us, would agree that the collaborative nature of construction and development has really changed over the last few years. And if you're not a team player and you can't work as part of a group, that makes it so you're not very successful.
Completely agree.
Anybody else want to talk about
Adaptability is hugely important, and I would say and flexible, because I know especially where I'm working now at Microsoft, you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to take on a task that's well outside what you think your scope is, but it's going to help you grow, and you have to be able to figure out how to do things. Somebody's not going to come along and tell you, you have to do it, here's the checkbox of how you do it. You have to figure out, how does this happen, where does this go, how do I find the information I need?
Yeah, we call that a little bit of flying in the fog. You
Yes,
have to be
a lot of
comfortable
it.
with a little bit of the gray, the black and white that maybe when you're younger and you have in school no longer exists. And so we call that in our company flying in the fog.
They interviewed me, they said, are you comfortable with ambiguity?
Yeah, there you go.
And I would say for ours, it's very much, it's based on personality, and it's the ability to take on something outside of your own comfort level. That if you go in with an expectation of a 9-to-5 job and someone asks you to expand beyond that, and you might not be comfortable with it, either ask for help, find a mentor. I know we all talk about that quite a bit. But I think part of what we look for in recruiting people is, can you be the brand or an ambassador for your company? Are you passionate about what you're going to be doing? And will you bring new ideas to the table that can positively impact the team that you're working on? And so I would say you have to have a little bit of ability to take risk, or lack of fear would always be a good quality, but very much within the construction industry, the ability to walk into a room and you may not know anybody, and to be comfortable with either listening or to be able to be comfortable enough to introduce yourself to someone, because that's really the only way that you're ever going to be able to make those connections.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to be a self-starter, so to speak. You can't, one thing I learned really early on is you can't wait for somebody to tell you what to do. You have to anticipate what's coming and look at it, and you can't be, that's not my job. You have to, learn all aspects of the job and understand everybody's role and not just your own, because sometimes you can give a different perspective that brings a lot to the table.
I would also add not to be afraid to identify something that might be a weakness, that you can identify your strengths and be your own champion, but to not be afraid to say, that might not be my area of expertise. I'm happy to take it on, but I would love to get some more feedback, or maybe reach out to somebody who does have that area of expertise.
So one of you were just talking about mentors and sponsors. could you share a story or of maybe someone that has helped you in your career and how impactful that was?
For me, I would say the mentor that I have is the CEO of our company who hired me. I had basically a 10-minute interview, which was originally supposed to be half an hour, which is somewhat more normal. There were some problems with the scheduling, so they didn't know I was coming, or they forgot to tell him. And when he came in, he said he just had a few minutes because he was catching a flight. And I said, listen, I don't want to waste any of your time, and I'm having to get back to work as well. So let me just tell you what I'm thinking. I don't have background in this specific profession, but I have this skill set, and I really just want someone to give me a chance, and I'm really interested in getting into real estate development. I think your company is a good fit for me, and this is what I can offer you. And so he thought that was so awesome that he decided to have me meet some more people. And after about a year and a half, I got hired at the company. But I think for me, he's always been my mentor because he's such a great kind of coach and a team leader. He's very passionate about what he does, and he makes everybody want to kind of get fired up and get at it every week. And when you have someone like that who's in your corner, you really kind of achieve your full potential. And I think that's really important, to feel comfortable in your workspace. I know people who aren't that pleased with their work environments, and for me, I have to feel really passionate but also comfortable with being able to have access to people making all the top decisions in the company.
Great.
For me, it would be, I'm in a unique position that I get to work with my father, and he has been my mentor, and he got me interested in real estate, and he's on the disposition side, whereas I'm on the acquisition side. So it's really interesting that we talk about both sides of the business, and really helps me understand a project better, knowing how he's going to look at it on the back end, and he understands it more from my standpoint, because he knows what I have to go through on the front end to get the project approved. So that has really been a great benefit for me, because he's just obviously had more years of experience than I have, and a great sounding board, over the years.
Well, definitely somebody that you trust,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
and that
That's
you and
right.
that you feel comfortable asking, the so-called stupid questions.
That's right.
And I think that's one thing that we, as you were describing too, Allison, you have to be able to, in order to grow, you have to be willing to say, I don't know how to do that, or this is a skill I need some help with.
Or to take constructive criticism well.
Yeah.
Feedback.
Right.
Yes,
Feedback.
it's really good to have.
Not taking it personally.
I would
Right.
tell you, so I currently have a mentor who is fantastic. She was the president prior to me within Crew. She works for a separate company. We team on a significant number of projects together, but she is someone I go to who I can bounce off career ideas with, and she is the principal of her company, so she understands things that are outside of my particular scope of what I do on a day-to-day basis, and helps me advocate for myself within my own company. So to have somebody within your career currently that can add perspective is completely invaluable. I will tell you that I have been successful because of her support. It came about organically. I didn't seek her out with the intention that she would be a mentor. But I will tell you, from a sponsor standpoint, I came into this job with our construction company, having worked for 4 years with a commercial litigation law firm and a small firm, and didn't know that I had a champion. I worked closely with our managing partner, but I actually got this job because he approached me and said, hey, our client, he wants to hire you. So my current boss came to me as an advocate for me, knowing that I was looking to kind of expand my role, whether with the law firm, but he saw a unique opportunity to go and work with one of our clients. And to this day, I still have an excellent relationship with him.
He kept a client too, right?
He kept a client, and he was a sponsor for me behind the scenes, but valued what I did for the law firm enough to promote me into a field on the construction side with a client we had a great relationship with, and is now a career for me. And it was, so you never know when somebody may be sponsoring you behind the scenes, because the quality of what you have done for them is invaluable.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. You never know who's actually championing for you. I was lucky enough early on to have a champion within my company, and he was my direct supervisor, and he was in charge of leasing. And I was his leasing assistant, and came to me early on and said, "You're well overqualified for this job. What would you like to do next?" And I said, "Well, I only see one career path." And he said, "Well, in order for him to grow, he needed to, have a new career path. So he was going to expand and do more development and construction." He said, "How about you come along with me?" And so I said, "Sure, that sounds great." Don't know anything about it. Didn't know what construction management was in college. I had a friend. I was like, "What is that?" And he said, "Okay, great. Here are 3 jobs. Go get them done." And I just had to figure it out. It was great, though. But he believed in me, and he saw something. He said, "You can do it. Just take it on." And I've had a few others that have pushed me along the way.
Yeah, pushing you out of your comfort zone
Exactly.
so you can have those growth
And you have to accept.
opportunities.
You have to accept it when people push you out of your comfort zone, because you never know where it leads you. There are things that I'm doing. I never would have thought I'd be president of a chapter of Crew. Never crossed my mind. But there are others that saw that and pushed me along.
Great. Do you have any tips for interviewing? Remembering back to when you were in college or just graduating, it's a little bit scary when you haven't done that before. Is there anything that you think would be helpful?
Well, I think for me, and recently we have been doing a bit of interviewing, so I can speak from experience, it's important to really be yourself. Sometimes when you're interviewing candidates, it feels as though they're trying to be someone else or someone who they think you want them to be.
They've done their research.
Exactly. They've been on your website. I mean, if they're young, they're with it. They understand that needs to be done, and if they're bright enough. But I think you should really just be yourself. You want yourself to shine through the interview. And I'm the kind of person who wants to know what else they're doing besides, all of their academic, educational accomplishments, their GPA, their test scores. I want to know who they are as a person. Do they like running? Do they travel? Are they a hiker? I mean, those are the types of things that really give you a full picture about the person, whether they have 6 dogs or 3 cats. And then I think, too, being a good listener in an interview. I don't have any pets, but I mean, I like to know who the person, whether they're, and if they have a lot of children, if they have a lot of pets. Also, if they really kind of listen, I think an interview is important. Sometimes I've been in interviews where the candidate doesn't listen and maybe is so excited or maybe anxious they talk too much. So it's trying to find a healthy balance with answering the questions, but also listening to the person you're interviewing with, because you're kind of trying to develop a first impression, but a start of a new relationship if possible. So that's what I've seen in terms of interviewing tips.
I like that comment of being, genuine to who you are.
Yeah.
So often when you're looking for a position, I think you're really trying to be on your best behavior. And I think it's important to really make sure that you have a cultural fit, because you're looking for a career, you're not looking for a job, so to speak.
Right.
I think one thing that would be good advice is to try to exude some confidence. I always had a hard time interviewing because it wasn't my comfort zone at all. And I think you can exude confidence and not know what you're doing. I mean, you can, you're going to exude, "I can figure this out."
Right.
Now, I am capable enough to figure it out, and I'm a good learner. And I think that you just have to, I hate to say self-promote, but in a good way. And I wish someone would have kind of told me more about that.
And I would say to go into an interview and to ask questions about the culture, or to ask that question about what the expectations of a day-to-day work life would be from whoever's interviewing you. They are best able to answer what their company culture is like that you can't necessarily read from a website. And hopefully you're getting the chance to interview with who will be your direct report, but I think it's important to ask that question of who would be your direct report, because you may have great rapport with the person you're interviewing with, and maybe they're in HR, but if you're not actually sitting down with the person you are going to be working with on a day-to-day basis, it's extremely important, because it is what gives you the fulfillment within your career, is having that dynamic that's fulfilling and not feeling that you are bumping your head up against a wall because you have a different dynamic than the person you're actually working with.
To echo what the other panelists have said, it's really about letting your personality shine through, because if you put on a front and try and be who you think, it's not going to work out, because you're not getting the right cultural match. It's not a good personality fit. It's about the personality. I know at my company they say they want to hire smart, nice people. They can train you to do anything, but they can't train you to be smart or to be nice. It's true. It's true. But yeah, it's great.
So basically, the right attitude is
It's,
really
yeah,
important.
well, it's the right attitude and really ready to take on a task and a challenge. The one thing I would say as far as interviewing that I've noticed, and it's a pet peeve of mine too, is ask the person that's interviewing you what they do. Because if you,
That's a good point.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you just sit there and you don't ever ask them, well, what do you do at the company? Or, I had a business card that didn't really say, I didn't put a title on it because I had a couple different roles. Never once did a person ask me, what did I do? And I walked away thinking, well, she doesn't really care much about this company. And the same thing is, also looking and just making sure you understand the company and what they do, what their base premise is and their mission.
So change is constant in our business, especially as a contractor or developer. What do you see as the future, and how do you think that will impact the professionals in our part of the market?
I think in terms of the future, we have learned to be more and more adaptable. One of the other panelists was talking about being adaptable earlier. I think you just have to constantly reposition yourself as a company. We've already, the past several years, had some really difficult times in the industry, and so being very streamlined if possible, and trying to maybe load up certain really skilled people in the company with different tasks that you wouldn't normally do, and those go-getters and team players we were talking about willing to do that, you can probably see yourself or your company through any kind of really difficult time or challenge. That's how I think our company's been able to go forward. There's been times I've been asked to do things that I never would have thought that I could do, and I've always said yes, even if I wasn't comfortable. And there's always people there to help you along the way. If you don't know how to do it, you can reach out to your network, can be in the company, outside the company. But I think kind of learning what your base is inside the company and trying to remain as lean as possible, but also being resourceful enough to pull in those when you need others will help the company kind of move forward, no matter if the economic climate improves or stays stagnant as it has been.
My company is, constantly changing. Specific to Walmart, that's part of why they're successful, because they're always changing. But one thing that I had someone teach me early on is to embrace the change and get on board quickly and learn what the next steps are and be one of the front runners and really understand. And it's much better when you are a part of a cohesive a team and everybody is embracing the change, because it's going to be bumpy. It's not going to be smooth sailing, and if you can all work on it together, I think that's very important.
I think it's important you don't know when change is going to come, and it's hard to predict it. So the more you can add to, your toolbox of what you know or what you can do proactively, so that when change does occur, you're able to be flexible. So seek out a manager in your office in a different department that you don't typically work with and ask them what they do, so that you can understand, or maybe ask them if you can shadow them for a day and to understand what they do in their component of the business. Or outside of your own company, reach out to people in different areas of real estate that you can learn from them. Because then when change does happen and a restructuring happens or your company closes its doors, you have the resources to go out and to adapt to what the demands are. So you're not locked into, I only do this and this is what I'm good at.
Absolutely, is to understand what everybody on the team does, and so that you can step into another role easily, because you get the bigger picture of what your whole group is trying to do, not just what your little piece of it is. And for me, working on the Microsoft account, the change has been different. It's paperless now. I never print anything out. I don't have an office, and we're looking at that, seeing more and more that people are mobile. They don't have an office. They're working. I'm working global. I'm talking to people in all different countries. And we're all connected. I actually can see, I know when other people in the country are online, and so I can send them an instant message. Never would have done that before. It's crazy. But it's nice, but it's continually changing, and we're mobile, and you have to adapt to that and understand that at any time, it's things that change, the tide is going to change.
Well, that offers flexibility. How many days
does.
do you work from home, Stacy?
I try and work from home for 2 days a week. It's great. I can roll out of bed in my pajamas and get to work early and work late and not feel bad.
As long as you're not on a video chat, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I turn the video off.
I know within the last 5 years, sustainable development and construction has really been something that people are really embracing. Have any of you participated in a sustainable type project, or what are you seeing as the future of that?
I would say we are definitely in our company working on a lot of sustainable projects. The biggest one we're working on is the Lakeside project in Chicago. And we are really trying to poise this opportunity as a civic legacy project for Chicago with 21st century infrastructure and planning a city for the future. So as Daniel Burnham planned Chicago at the turn of the century for 200 years going forward, we're doing the same thing now. So it's an opportunity for really kind of paving the way and getting it right the first time for all new infrastructure, energy, water, waste, information, communications, and technology, and partnering with those brilliant minds who can help us get that done. And it's not an easy task, and there are many existing green standards, such as LEED. Other countries have their own standards. There's also new platforms emerging. There's zero energy buildings. There's different forums, and there's a lot of policies that are moving around. It's different on the local level, the state level, the federal level. It's different internationally and globally. You do have to work with other people in different countries, so you have to understand that things are changing. So what we're trying to do is partner ourselves with those brilliant people all over the world. We've partnered with Cisco. We're working with groups in Denmark. Ramboll is an engineering firm. WSP in London, they work on transportation. And these are the folks who really get it and can help us crack the nut on how to apply that here in Chicago. So I think for us, it's really for all of us in the company, it's a learning exercise. We're having to be very open-minded and kind of, roll up our sleeves and figure out how to get this done. And then pushing it forward at the local level to help the city get behind us and explain to them that this is really benefiting so many people, not only in the Chicago area, but the region. And we're already being looked to as one of the future projects to watch on a global level. So it's very exciting. I think that you do have to be aware of the certain certification bases that exist. I mean, you have to have people on your team that are familiar with LEED, be LEED AP, understand all of the rating and the systems technically. But I think also you want to bring in the design visionary people who can help you kind of blend the two together. And that's how you can achieve a very successful project.
Does Walmart embrace sustainability?
Yes, I'm sure you know we are one of the leaders in sustainability, and it's every one of my projects. We look at a way to make it more efficient, and just from the building itself to the lighting to the parking lot to the trees, the landscaping. I mean, I'm extremely lucky that I get to touch it on every project I do. So it's very important to Walmart, and they've made great strides in making sure that our buildings are very green and meet really great requirements. I am proud of the work that they do because it's really a benefit to the community that people don't really know, and because it doesn't, Walmart isn't big on self-promoting that aspect. They just do it because it's the right thing to do.
I think it's interesting that different terminology gets used. It depends, whether it's LEED or whether it's sustainability or it's green, and I think we've had the opportunity to work on projects that are LEED certified, but I think you need to know your end user in the group that you're talking to and understand their goals. Understand, is it based on a return on an investment? Is it because they need to upgrade from an energy efficiency standpoint? Are they trying to meet new legislation? So I think it's great to have the broad understanding of what the goals are, and if you want to be an expert in something, that is great, but don't be so locked into LEED and only LEED, or green and only green for what your definition of green is, and have the ability to understand that it is a function of what we all do every day, and whether that is a business operations and creating a more efficient space, or whether that is a new construction and the infrastructure and everything, that it is very dynamic. It's very, very fluid. There's a lot of new technologies that are coming out, whether it's clean technology or different components. You need to just understand your market that you're talking to when you use different terminologies.
Yeah. Well, and I would say it used to be more market by market, but I think it's growing. More and more people are starting to, realize sustainability is important. They're requesting it. The end customer is requesting it more and more now. And so when you're looking to develop a project, you have to keep that in mind. You might not be going for the certification, but you're at least looking through the project to do what's right and say, I've done this. This was the right thing to do, not because I was really seeking a certification. But I know
It's the right thing to do to reduce the carbon footprint and take
Exactly.
care of our environment.
Yeah, and then the tenants, in an office building, they are very appreciative. They're looking for that. They're looking at the buildings and which ones are going to be the most efficient too, because that affects their cost. But people are also, the developers are going, and actually the larger projects taking teams, and they're going to different countries and looking and talking with groups that have done it just to see how have you done it, what makes sense.
I mean, it can be as simple as, you added an additional switch at the reception desk. I've had a client do that was basically the kill switch for all of the outlets. And that is a very inexpensive way, but yet all of that power that gets, that is drained over the weekend is suddenly reduced. And that's a very, just looking for those innovative type ideas and thoughts to become better citizens.
Oh yeah, people are getting more conscious about waste.
So one thing I would like to have you touch on is the value of networking, and how do you see that as part of your business? And can you talk about the importance of relationships, or if you think that those are important, or just share a little bit about, how do you network?
I think this is a very important issue, especially for women. Given that I'm in Crew, I've worked in real estate for some time now, I feel like this is one of the most important things you can do on a weekly basis. Personally, I try to, no matter how busy the schedule is, attend several things every month. They may be a seminar on the current economic status of real estate. It could be something more specific to what I'm working on in my project. But I always try to attend several seminars a month. And those are always networking opportunities to meet someone else in the business or to go with a colleague and learn some new information. But I think networking is really important because it gets yourself out there and away from your silo on a day-to-day basis of your own work. And you need that exposure to kind of rise in your career. You have to promote yourself, like you were saying, and I think those opportunities are really important. I think women traditionally, as we're young girls, are not naturally networking as much as men do. We have other ways of interacting socially. I know now with, of course, texting and iPad and all of that, it's changing a little bit for younger people, but I think that it's a gender difference. I think women have to make a little bit more of an effort. We also are required to do more in the work and the home in terms of multitasking, so that's a balance too. But I think the more we network, the stronger we can be, and so I think it's really important to join an organization like Crew, for example, to always put yourself out there and have those networking opportunities.
Great.
One thing specific to women is that we are relational. And I think that's what makes it really easy for me as far as networking. I mean, I have lots of friends and colleagues that work for other retailers, and the great thing about that is that I've been able to do projects with like Home Depot or Lowe's and combination projects, putting a gas station in front of one of my grocery stores because I happen to have a relationship with that company. And that's a relationship that's just been built over time because I was internal with Walmart, and then I was in the brokerage field, and then I worked for a developer. And to me, maintaining those relationships over time has just provided tremendous results that I wasn't looking for. I was just relationships that I built with people, but from a business standpoint, we've been able to do great projects, and it's really because of networking. It's really because the relationships that I've built with other people in the industry, and it's really been very helpful. I would encourage everyone to do that because it has great rewards.
Obviously, networking is invaluable. I don't think any of us would be where we are without our own networks, and I do think it's important, though, to be strategic about your networking, that you can try and go to everything and be everywhere, and that's great, but you will burn out. And if you're going and you're only talking to the same people every time, you're not expanding your network. You're chatting with the people you're most comfortable with. And if you are not going with the mentality of, I'm either going to learn something, I'm going to strive to meet at least one new person don't network just to show up, to be a body in a room. I think the more strategic you can be about, this is the reason that I'm participating, or to get engaged on a committee where you can have a more direct relationship with people that are involved with an organization like Crew. But I do think the value of networking is intangible, because if for all of us that are in fields where we need to interact on a team, it makes logical sense. But if you happen to be in a field where most of what you do is internal within your company, don't discount the idea of networking and getting involved and learning about other aspects of your industry, because you don't know when that change occurs. You don't know when you may need to find another job, and you need to have already built that network versus scrambling to then go out and seek out people. So think about networking from a bigger picture, but think about it from a strategic standpoint as well.
Absolutely. I would say we see Crew as the place to make connections. That's our focus, is connections. You never know where that connection is going to lead you. You know, we talk about everybody's in Crew and they want to make a deal, but it's really about making a connection. That person may not be able to get you a job right away or a deal, but they might know someone. You never know where it's going to lead. You never know what job changes you're going to have. And also, I'd say it needs to be active networking, not passive. You can't just show up. You actually have to actively participate and make sure that you're engaged with people and making that effort, and you'll get great rewards from it.
I think you will also find that's where some of your best support and sponsors, people that see something in you that you might not see in yourself, and help you push yourself out of that comfort zone, so to speak, and learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree. It's pushed, yeah, those connections have pushed me harder than even in my daily job.
Professional credentials, you know, can you talk about your degree? Is it in something that, I think this will be a very interesting answer for all of us, but do you have a degree? If you have a degree, is it in something that is even related to what you're currently doing? And what would you like to tell students about their credentials? I think what you shared about the LEED accredited professional is a valuable item. Don't necessarily have to have a lot of letters behind your name to have that same experience. But
well, for me, I have a very kind of varied background. I didn't know when I was in undergrad that I wanted to be in real estate development, so I was doing liberal arts then, and that was great. I took a few regional planning courses. I ended up as a social worker for 2 years and did...
that is very helpful for what you're doing today.
And it's very helpful for what I'm doing today, and this is what I tell people when I take them on tours of the site, because I have to interact with the community adjacent to our site, and our site is in an area that is somewhat economically depressed, and so there's a lot of community outreach and engagement that has to happen, and so when I'm doing that type of work, I put on my social worker hat, and that has just been so valuable to me, and I never thought that would be. After that, I moved on to grad school for urban planning, and I went to University of Illinois at Chicago, which has a pretty good planning program. And I really loved that because it was physical planning that I focused on, and I got to work a lot with architecture and planning and thinking how cities evolved and how spaces for the public are defined, and that really kind of interested me. As I moved more into that, I wanted to work for the city. So then I worked at the City of Chicago in a municipal level, doing a lot of project management and varied mapping work. I worked in GIS mapping, so that was a very technical kind of role. But then I realized I really did want to move forward into real estate development, and I wasn't sure the best way to do it, so I started networking. I became a Rotarian, and I'm a Rotarian in the first club that was ever built in Chicago, and Rotary clubs are all over the world. And it's a service club, it's philanthropy. We do service locally, internationally. We're eradicating polio, for example. And through that, I began networking to find real estate companies I could work for. I decided to go to school for my MBA at Roosevelt, and went to school at night and focused on real estate development and the MBA together. And through the Rotary connections of this networking we were just talking about, I met about maybe 20 different people in the business for coffee, for 10 minutes, what have you, and finally found the fit that I'm at today. And I think all of the degrees that I have and the background really has helped me into this role I have today, because I really use all of those skills on a weekly basis. So it's not just having the technical degree and then doing the job. Sometimes you really need to kind of have a more varied background and then be able to inject those different skill sets when you need them. And I call it, too, my toolkit. It's been very helpful for me. I'm also a very kind of energetic person, and I need a lot to keep me engaged, so that's why I've taken that path, I think.
And my background, my undergraduate degree was in finance. And then I just went directly into a master's program. I was at Texas A&M University, and they have a very good master's in real estate, land economics and real estate department. So I went immediately into the master's program, and that's when I was able to do an internship. But it's funny, I look back at the things that I do now, the pro formas and the spreadsheets, and I think, wow, I wish I'd gone to graduate school after I had worked, because I could have really understood it. And I look back and think, oh, I did all those case studies I didn't really understand at the time. So it is a benefit, I would say, to work first and then go to graduate school, although that's how I got my start, was with my internship. But I do look back and think, oh, I wish I'd known that. I took some early CCIM classes, and I think, oh, I need to go back and do that again. One thing that I will tell you, I think constantly re-educating yourself is key. So even if you're not going to get the initials behind your name, I think it is important if you can make the time to take the classes. My company offers a lot of internal classes, but I think if you can go out and take the classes just to get the understanding of the other specialties, it is really very, very helpful.
So I came from a background in sports medicine. I have a kinesiology degree. I call myself the science nerd from high school and college. But on the side was taking marketing and business classes that pertain to sports.
Sports construction.
Yes, sports construction. When I started my career, I was not ready to go back to grad school right away. So was trying to kind of do the analysis on what I really liked about physical therapy and sports medicine. And what I realized was I actually liked the interaction with people. So it wasn't necessarily the science side of it. It was actually the people interaction that I really found I enjoyed. And through an opportunity where I wasn't working, I came in to do some part-time work for the construction law firm. And they ended up offering me a position to work with their client relations and marketing department. And I was like, I'll do this for a year. And I was there for 4 years. So the adaptability or the ability for other people to see something in you that you may not see in yourself, or the ability to take the risks and say, this might not be my career path that I had planned. But by default, the interesting thing is, obviously then I was offered the job on the construction side with our commercial contractor. And now it's a career path. I would tell you I would never go back and change anything. And I think what I've recognized is that I've always had to be able to represent the organization or the people that I work with as the ambassador for our company. And to be able to speak intelligently about what we do took a lot of internal time of going back and studying and reading and learning as much as I could about the construction industry, and whether it was a private or a public type of project, and ground up construction projects versus tenant improvements, and all of the nuances that go into everything that what we do took a lot of my own personal time to go in and do the research. Well, I would tell you the way that I've been successful is by going back and taking classes in real estate at one of our local universities. They have a certificate program. So the areas that I've felt where I'm weak, or where I can go and add value to our clients. So I went back and took a real estate and investment class, or an investment and finance class. So I've done pro formas. My day-to-day job, I don't need to do pro formas. But when I can go in and talk to a broker and understand the nuances of where they need their cost per square foot to be in order to get a deal done for their client. So the value of me learning something outside of what I need to do from a construction standpoint has brought us so many more deals, because I can come to the table early in a project and be a participant versus just the end portion of a project. So I would always say it doesn't matter what your graduate degree is if you can identify what your strengths are and if you're willing to go out and take the individual time to learn what you need to know in your industry to separate yourself from everyone else.
I would agree. It depends on what role you're looking for. I would say in our roles, you don't need to have a specific degree. It's not a requirement, or a certification or letters behind your name. It just depends on what it is you're looking in the industry. If you're an architect, you'd like to have the AIA. You want the certificate. You need that. But in ours, we don't. My background is I have a Bachelor of Science, and my Bachelor of Science is a flight officer. I was going to be an airline pilot, so completely off the mark. Started, a real estate company as a receptionist, figuring, okay, I'll do some work and I'll get some more money and I'll find some more time to fly, and realized that's not going to happen. And I've stayed with it ever since. Mm-hmm. So I found my career path, and then when I got into the construction side of the company, they actually sent me into a certificate program since. It's nice to get that continuing education. You absolutely need to continue learning and improving yourself and learning more about it. I've taken finance classes. I don't need that for construction, but I wanted to know asset management side and understand more about the business. So it's just continually improving on yourself and branching out. But yeah, there's no requirement.
Yeah, I think I got my start through an internship with my mother, very similar to you. My mother worked for a general contractor and asked me one summer, would you want to come in and we need some extra help for the summer? And I never left.
Oh, wow.
26 years later, so you kind of, sometimes your careers pick you
Right.
versus you picking
Right.
them initially.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to wrap up, so I just want to thank you all for participating today, and we hope that you enjoy the Career Zone. It's sponsored by Walmart Realty, so thank you, Jennifer, and thank your company, who's a premier sponsor for Crew Network. Contact the Crew Network office if you would like any additional information. Thank you.